Hey, it's Chuki here from SojourningScholar.com. Having taken the TOEFL IBT exam on several occasions, I know just how important it is to get a good score on the TOEFL exam. That's why in this video, I'm going to share from my experience of buying and testing several TOEFL prep courses, how to identify the best prep course for you. And that starts right now. Now, one of the most important factors to consider when you're shopping around for a TOEFL prep course is what your general learning style preference is. Are you the type of student who prefers to learn using audio or visual material, or do you like learning by reading and writing? If you are an audio or visual learner, a video-based TOEFL prep course will best suit your needs. And on the flip side, if you prefer to learn when the information is presented in the form of a text, you should consider TOEFL prep courses that are primarily designed as text-based study guides. Now, as you consider your general learning style, it's also important to identify what your preferred language learning style is. For example, if you've learned English as a second language, you might have a preferred language learning style that's different from your general learning style. So say you're someone who's learned English as a second language in an academic setting, mostly through reading and writing. As a result, you might find it much easier to learn content in English by reading and writing than by listening or watching, even though you might prefer to learn in the audio or visual mode when the content is in your native language. Now, just as important as your learning style preference is considering the type of learning format where you're adequately motivated. For someone who's self-motivated, on-demand TOEFL prep courses which allow you to complete the course at your own pace are an ideal choice. However, if you're someone who struggles with holding yourself accountable, studying with a self-paced TOEFL course wouldn't be the best fit. In contrast, you might be the type of student who enjoys learning in a group environment or an environment where you can get the attention of a teacher. If that's the case, your best bet is to go with a TOEFL course that has a live class component or one that offers one-on-one tutoring with a TOEFL expert instructor. Now, to make your search for a TOEFL prep course easier, we've rated some of the best TOEFL prep courses in different categories. And I'll leave a link to our in-depth TOEFL prep course review video in the description section below. Down there, you'll also find any special discounts you might have for the Sojourning Scholar viewers, so make sure to check that out and let's get back to the video. Next is the length of your TOEFL prep, which will depend on how far off your starting TOEFL scores are from your target TOEFL scores. For example, you might be shooting for a target TOEFL IBT score that falls in the 100s, but you take a TOEFL diagnostic test and you discover that your starting scores fall in the low 70s. Now, if this is the case, you should be prepared for a TOEFL prep duration that's longer than someone with a TOEFL starting score that falls in the mid-90s. So, given that your TOEFL prep will be longer, you should look for courses that have a more extended access period, say between 6 months to a year. Now, this longer access period will give you enough time to see improvements in your TOEFL scores as you develop your English language skills outside of actively studying for the TOEFL. But on the flip side, if you're someone who has a starting TOEFL score that's close to your target TOEFL score, looking for a TOEFL prep course with a longer access period may not be that important to you. Next, you want to consider how much support you expect to receive from a TOEFL prep course. Now, given that the TOEFL speaking and writing sections are graded subjectively, it is important to receive feedback in these sections during your TOEFL prep. And with a good TOEFL prep course, you would have access to support features such as a graded feedback for the TOEFL speaking and writing tasks, as well as access to an on-demand expert for help with the course material. So, suppose you've identified that your TOEFL speaking and writing sections are your weakest areas, you should look for TOEFL prep courses that provide helpful feedback to students in these sections. Now, if you're someone who needs a coach for occasional guidance with your TOEFL prep, finding a TOEFL prep course with private one-on-one tutoring will be an important consideration. Next, you want to consider how much TOEFL practice material will be sufficient for your prep. If you're planning on taking many full-length TOEFL practice tests, you should look for TOEFL prep courses with a large bank of TOEFL practice questions and access to simulated full-length TOEFL practice tests. Now, it's also important that the TOEFL practice questions and the practice text experience on these courses are similar to those found on the actual TOEFL IBT exam. In contrast, if completing several full-length TOEFL practice tests is not in your game plan, you should be fine with a TOEFL prep course with a lower number of practice questions and full-length practice tests, as long as the practice questions are of a similar difficulty to those you can find on the real TOEFL IBT exam. And finally, you want to consider how much money you're willing to invest in your TOEFL prep. Now, if you're someone who's looking to boost your TOEFL scores by a lot, you might find it necessary to invest in a premium TOEFL course that has several student support features. And in contrast, if you're someone who's looking for a satisfactory TOEFL score, you may opt for a budget TOEFL prep course with fewer student support features. Now, the typical cost of a premium TOEFL prep course with 6 months of access is anywhere between $100 on the low end to as high as $300, while the price of a good budget TOEFL prep course would be under $100. Now, as you consider the price of a TOEFL prep course, you should also look into the customer policies such as the money back refund and the TOEFL score increase guarantees. Now, most premium TOEFL prep courses on the market have score increase guarantees of at least plus 4 points to your overall TOEFL score, where students who complete these courses and don't see an increase in their official TOEFL IBT scores as promised can get a full refund of their course purchase. In contrast, most budget TOEFL prep courses do not offer any score increase guarantees. Hope you found this video helpful. For more test prep resources and content related to university admissions, check out our website at sojourningscholar.com, or you can do a quick Google search using our name. Thank you for watching and best of luck on your TOEFL prep.